city of Jacksonville, Florida, known for its vast size and a population of approximately 971,319 as of 2020, holds the title of the most populous city in the state. Situated on the Atlantic coast, this vibrant city boasts a rich history, a bustling port, and a variety of recreational and historical sites that shape the lives of its residents. With its diverse community, Jacksonville offers a dynamic cultural scene, including numerous parks, museums, and beaches, providing a perfect blend of leisure and opportunities for historical exploration. However, it is important to acknowledge the city's crime rate, which surpasses the national average by 17%, presenting its own set of challenges. Against this backdrop, the Kamiyah Mobley case emerged as a significant event in the city's recent history. On July 10, 1998, a day that was meant to be filled with joy and new beginnings turned into a day of profound sorrow for Shanara Mobley. At the tender age of 16, she welcomed her daughter, Kamiyah, into the world at University Medical Center in Jacksonville, Florida at approximately 6:55 a.m. However, just 8 hours after the birth, tragedy struck. A nurse who had been providing support and engaging in conversations with Shanara and Kamiyah suddenly became a part of a horrifying nightmare. Despite the nurse's initial assistance and the trust she had built with Shanara, she ultimately played a role in the abduction. In the later part of the afternoon, when Shanara was feeling exhausted and vulnerable, the nurse proposed the idea of placing Kamiyah in her baby carrier for a routine temperature check. This suggestion seemed normal and nothing out of the ordinary, especially when Kamiyah's grandmother entered the room and briefly interacted with the little one before the nurse took her away, assuring a swift return. However, as time passed and 20 minutes turned into an eternity, panic began to consume Shanara. Overwhelmed with a sense of dread, she embarked on a desperate search throughout the hospital corridors, her fear as a mother intensifying into sheer terror. The hospital, upon realizing the unthinkable reality of an abduction, promptly contacted the police, initiating an extensive search operation. Later, surveillance footage revealed a woman who appeared to be just another family member according to the hospital staff, leaving with Kamiyah unnoticed. This woman, dressed in a blue smock adorned with flowered green scrubs and surgical gloves, had successfully departed with Kamiyah without arousing any suspicion. The police immediately launched a citywide search, implementing measures such as sealing off the hospital, halting buses, and notifying airports to be on high alert for the missing baby. Every nook and cranny of Jacksonville was meticulously scrutinized, from trains to hospital rooms, while helicopters scoured the area from above. Despite these concerted efforts, Kamiyah remained elusive. The suspect, as described by both surveillance footage and eyewitness accounts, was believed to be an African-American woman in her early 30s, potentially wearing a wig with shoulder-length dark brown hair. It was theorized that she may have recently experienced the loss of a child or was feigning pregnancy. The police diligently pursued numerous leads, sought public assistance, and maintained hope, relying on statistics that indicated a favorable chance of recovering abducted infants. Kamiyah's family endured endless weeks of uncertainty, desperate for any news about her whereabouts and the mysterious woman who had taken her. Without any pre-abduction photos of Kamiyah, authorities had to rely on a composite sketch to help identify her, appealing to the public for any information that could bring her back safely. Despite the detectives' optimism and the usual success rate in similar cases, Kamiyah remained missing, leaving everyone involved with haunting questions about her well-being and the motives of the woman who had snatched her away. The investigation into Kamiyah Mobley's disappearance took a complicated turn, with suspicion falling on various individuals. Craig Aiken, Kamiyah's father, found himself at the center of the storm, despite being in prison when his daughter was born and taken. The intricacies of his relationship with Shanara Mobley, coupled with their significant age difference and the circumstances surrounding Kamiyah's birth, added layers of complexity to an already convoluted case. Even though Craig was physically absent, His determination to uncover the truth about his daughter's disappearance matched Shannara's. As the days passed with no sign of Kamiyah, suspicions shifted unpredictably. Shannara, a young mother of 16, faced intense scrutiny from law enforcement, the community, and those closest to her. The unsettling possibility that she might have played a role in her own daughter's vanishing was exacerbated by Craig's legal issues, which seemed to overshadow their situation. The investigation left no stone unturned, exploring every possible angle, including the unsettling theories that Craig had orchestrated the abduction from prison, or that Shannara and Craig had conspired together. The immense pressure on Shannara resulted in a heart-wrenching moment when she defended her innocence by reflecting on her decision to bring Kamiyah into the world despite difficult circumstances. The suspicion even reached Shannara's mother, who was present during the abduction. The guilt and the need to find someone to blame overwhelmed the family, leading to fractures and accusations that only intensified the pain. Throughout the ordeal, both the police and the public closely monitored the family, analyzing their every action and statement. As the investigation expanded, the authorities left no stone unturned, following up on leads, interviewing numerous individuals, and circulating flyers with Kamiyah's description and information about the suspect. The hospital where Kamiyah was taken from offered a substantial reward of $250,000 in the hopes of obtaining information that could lead to her safe return. Despite these efforts, the case went cold, leaving Kamiyah's whereabouts a mystery. The emotional toll on Shannara was immeasurable. She lived in a state of suspended grief, holding on to hope by celebrating Kamiyah's birthday each year with a cake, symbolizing her enduring love and the desire for a reunion. The legal battle against the hospital for its security lapses ended in a financial settlement, but no amount could make up for the loss Shannara experienced. It took nearly 2 decades before the truth about Kamiyah's fate was revealed, finally providing answers to the agonizing questions that tormented Shannara. In 2017, a stunning revelation emerged in Walterboro, South Carolina, unraveling the mystery of Kamiyah Mobley's disappearance. An 18-year-old teenager named Alexis Manigault faced a life-changing discovery as she prepared to start her journey into adulthood with her first job, encountering a significant obstacle: the lack of necessary identification and a social security number to proceed. Gloria Williams, who was known as Alexis Manigault's mother, made a shocking confession that changed everything. She admitted to abducting Alexis from the hospital on the day she was born and raising her as her own child. This revelation caused immense emotional turmoil for Alexis. Despite the overwhelming truth, Alexis found herself torn between conflicting loyalties. She pleaded with Gloria to escape and live in secrecy to avoid the authorities. However, burdened by guilt, Gloria felt compelled to face the consequences of her actions. She couldn't bear the thought of leaving Alexis, the daughter she had raised for 18 years, regardless of their true relationship. Alexis, feeling torn and confused, confided in only one close friend, carrying the weight of this secret alone. Approximately a year and a half later, an anonymous tip to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children exposed the case. This led to Gloria's arrest at her residence in the early morning hours. Amidst the chaos, on January 12, 2017, the police received DNA confirmation that Alexis, now known as Kamiyah Mobley, was the missing child who had been kidnapped 18 years ago. This breakthrough not only solved an 18-year-old mystery, but also unraveled a complex web of emotions, identities, and legal consequences. With her true heritage now known, Alexis, or Kamiyah, was thrust into the national spotlight, becoming the living connection between a painful past and a hopeful future. Her life story is an extraordinary journey from abduction to discovery and the intricate process of reuniting with her biological family. Born on July 10, 1998, to Shannara Mobley and Craig Aiken, Kamiyah Mobley was taken by Gloria Williams and raised as her own daughter, Alexis Manigault, in Walterboro, South Carolina. In this tight-knit community, Alexis grew up as a typical young woman, excelling in school, attending church regularly, and sharing a strong bond with Gloria, whom she believed to be her mother. Alexis's upbringing consisted of ordinary activities, like cheering for her older brother at basketball games and pampering herself with Gloria, who provided her with love, care, and a stable home. However, beneath the nurturing environment, the truth about Alexis's true parentage remained a looming shadow, eventually coming to light in a revelation that would alter everything. The emotional journey that followed the discovery of her true identity was further complicated by the legal consequences faced by Gloria Williams. As Alexis grappled with the reality of her situation, authorities worked diligently to reunite her with her biological parents, Shannara and Craig. The process of reunion was filled with a mix of emotions, from Shannara's unimaginable joy and relief at finding her daughter alive to the complexities of building a relationship from scratch. Their initial meeting over FaceTime was a poignant moment characterized by mutual curiosity and an unexpected ease of communication, as if they were not strangers but a family separated only by circumstances. However, despite the initial warmth, challenges lay ahead. Shannara's disappointment upon learning that Alexis had not alerted the authorities upon discovering her abduction highlighted the intricate web of emotions and loyalties at play. Alexis's desire to continue being known as Alexis and her reluctance to see Gloria face severe punishment underscored the depth of their bond and the difficulty of navigating her newfound reality. For Shannara and Craig, the dream of a seamless reunion faced obstacles as they confronted Alexis's loyalty to the only mother she had ever known. Gloria Williams, born in 1965, found herself at a tumultuous point in her life around the time she abducted Kamiyah Mobley in 1998. Gloria, at the age of 33, went through a devastating miscarriage, a painful experience she chose to keep hidden. Despite not being pregnant, she exhibited symptoms of a phantom pregnancy, maintaining the illusion. During this time, her then-boyfriend, Charles Manago, put immense pressure on her to have a child, which was intertwined with a history of physical abuse. Gloria believes that this abuse contributed to her miscarriage. The situation at home deteriorated to the point where Gloria's sons from a previous marriage were deemed unsafe and had to live with their father. Charles insisted on having a baby, believing it would stabilize their tumultuous relationship. Filled with a mix of despair and hope for change, Gloria went on autopilot and embarked on a 4-hour drive that led her to the hospital where Shannara Mobley was about to give birth. In Shannara's hospital room, Gloria found herself in a vulnerable moment as Shannara expressed her uncertainties about motherhood. These uncertainties resonated with Gloria's deep longing to fulfill Charles's desire for a child. This led Gloria to impersonate a nurse, abduct Kamiyah, and create a narrative that would not be questioned by her family or Charles. Upon returning home with Kamiyah, Gloria fabricated records and maintained this false reality for 18 years, despite the foundation being built on lies. However, contrary to her hopes, the arrival of Kamiyah did not mend the fractures in Gloria's relationship with Charles. The act of abducting Kamiyah became a turning point in Gloria's life, not for the reasons she had anticipated, but because it gave her the strength to leave the abusive relationship with Charles. This decision was not driven by the expected stability a child might bring, but by a newfound determination to provide a safer environment for Kamiyah. Gloria Williams, after enduring a tumultuous period, managed to rebuild her life. She found solace in marrying a supportive and loving husband and eventually regained custody of her 2 sons. However, the long-standing mystery surrounding Kamiyah Mobley's disappearance was finally resolved when Gloria was arrested on January 13, 2017, from her South Carolina home. The subsequent trial, which garnered national attention, commenced on February 12, 2018. Facing the possibility of life imprisonment, Gloria entered a guilty plea for kidnapping and interference with custody, accepting a plea deal that reduced her sentence to 22 years. The courtroom was a poignant display of emotions, with Shannara Mobley and Craig Aiken, Kamiyah's biological parents, seated prominently behind the prosecution, representing the years of pain they had endured. Kamiyah, known as Alexis Monago to the world, positioned herself away from both sides, grappling with the complex loyalties that had shaped her life. Throughout the trial, tears and heartbreak were prevalent, underscoring the profound impact of Gloria's actions on all those involved. Kamiyah's decision not to testify highlighted the difficult position she found herself in. Despite recognizing Shannara as her birth mother and discovering a family she never knew, her bond with Gloria, the only mother she had known, remained strong. Gloria had provided her with love and a semblance of a normal life, complicating Kamiyah's feelings towards her biological parents, who sought justice for the abduction that had torn their family apart. Shannara's testimony served as a poignant reminder of the joy and hope she had experienced upon becoming a mother, only to have it cruelly taken away. Craig, too, expressed the enduring pain of never having known his daughter, directing his anguish towards Gloria in the courtroom. The trial laid bare the deep wounds inflicted on both families, exacerbated by the continued connection between Kamiyah and Gloria, which Shannara perceived as a betrayal. Gloria's testimony shed light on her state of mind during the abduction, describing herself as broken and desperate during that period. She detailed the pressures and mistreatment that led to the abduction of Kamiyah in an attempt to repair her relationship with her abusive partner. Her apology to Shannara and Craig, while recognizing the pain she had caused, underscored the complexity of her feelings and actions. Ultimately, on June 8, 2018, Williams received an 18-year prison sentence, a ruling that impacted everyone involved. Kamiyah's struggle with her identity and loyalty, the Mobley family's pursuit of justice, and Williams' admission of guilt portrayed a narrative of deep sorrow and the pursuit of closure. Following the trial, Kamiyah grappled with her dual identity and the reality of her life story. Upon returning to Walterboro, her childhood home, she faced the challenge of reconciling her past with her future. The relationships between Kamiyah, Shannara, and Williams remained strained, showcasing the enduring effects of Williams' actions across generations. In December 2018, Kamiyah Mobley made a life-changing decision to relocate to Jacksonville, Florida, to be closer to her biological family, a move that was met with immense joy and public support, as evidenced by her father's proud announcement on social media. This relocation signified not only a shift in Kamiyah's living arrangements, but also a significant stride towards healing and establishing a bond with her biological parents. Despite the complexities and emotional turmoil that had characterized their interaction since her discovery and Gloria Williams' trial, Kamiyah's adjustment to life in Jacksonville was not without its difficulties. The emotional strain of navigating relationships with both her biological family and the woman she had always known as her mother, Gloria, continued to be a source of tension and heartache. Shannara Mobley, Kamiyah's biological mother, expressed feelings of having to compete with Gloria for Kamiyah's affection, shedding light on the intricate dynamics at play. Shannara even questioned whether the reunion had caused more harm than good, given the emotional turmoil that it stirred at one point. Despite these challenges, Kamiyah's commitment to forging a path forward was evident in her efforts to integrate into her new environment and the life milestones she achieved. By the age of 21, Kamiyah had secured employment, obtained a legal government ID, and acquired her driver's license, achievements that marked her growing independence and her desire to move forward with her life. Importantly, when it came time to choose a legal name for her ID, Kamiyah chose Kamiyah Mobley, embracing her birth identity while navigating the complexities of her dual heritage. Kamiyah's relationship with Gloria Williams, though complicated by the circumstances of her upbringing, remained a significant part of her life. She continued to visit Gloria in prison, maintaining a connection with the woman who had raised her. This ongoing relationship underscored Kamiyah's struggle to balance her affection for Gloria with her growing connections to her biological family. On December 15, 2023, Williams made a significant move in her case by requesting a judge to dismiss her current judgment and sentence, marking her third plea for reconsideration. She claimed her defense was severely lacking, particularly highlighting that her legal team failed to explore her mental health issues, neglected to request a competency hearing, and did not prepare an adequate defense, leaving her with no choice but to accept a plea deal. As a result, Williams criticized her attorneys for not seeking a change of venue to ensure a fair trial. Her motion advocates for the right to retract her plea, undergo a new competency evaluation, and, if deemed competent, to restart the legal process.
2-year-old Mary Agnes Moroney disappeared in the bustling city of Chicago on a chilly day in November 1930. Her disappearance baffled authorities for 93 years, and her family members were left devastated. This case of decades-lost child is confusing. Mary Agnes Moroney's enigmatic disappearance made international news for years. False leads and pointless discoveries failed for almost a century to locate the child and reunite her with her family. But over time, the puzzle's pieces started to line up. Hello beautiful people, and welcome back to Mystery Detective, where we explore the depths of cold and solved cases, strange mysteries, and spooky stories that will keep you up at night. In today's video, we'll talk about the lengthy search for Mary Agnes Moroney, a 2-year-old who mysteriously disappeared from her Chicago home in 1930 and was never heard from again. Mary Agnes Moroney's case remained unsolved despite numerous DNA tests, suspicious letters, sighting reports, and reported sightings until 2023, when a Californian woman came forward with the solution to the long-standing puzzle. Stay with us as we reveal the shocking details surrounding Mary's disappearance and the surprising turn of events that resulted in the resolution of her case. Mary Agnes Moroney was born to Catherine and Michael Moroney in Chicago, Illinois, on May 9, 1928. In the depths of poverty during the Great Depression, they were a family struggling to get by. Mary had a younger sister named Anastasia, who was only 11 months old at the time. Mary and her family lived in an apartment on the second floor above a supermarket at 5200 Wentworth Avenue. Michael Moroney distributed handbills to earn his meager weekly salary of only $15. The Moroneys were having a difficult time. In the midst of their financial struggles, one of Catherine Moroney's relatives became interested in the family story. This relative took the initiative to get in touch with a welfare organization, and as a result, an advertisement about their financial struggles was publicized. Shortly after, Edgar Gilpin, a self-described male nurse and philanthropist, responded to the advertisement on May 13, 1930, on a Wednesday night. He offers Michael help in the form of a suit and some shoes. Since the addresses of families in need were kept secret from the public, the family accepted the offer through the welfare organization. But due to a small error, a mysterious woman learned the Moroney family's address. They had no idea that this seemingly insignificant mistake would trigger a tragic chain of events that would alter their lives for good. On May 14, 1930, Catherine Moroney, who was 17 years old at the time, was at home by herself with Mary Agnes and Anastasia. She heard a knock at the door as she was mopping the floor. When she goes to answer the door, a nicely dressed woman who identified herself as Mrs. Henderson and claimed to be a representative of the social worker who had seen the Moroney family's advertisement for assistance, was standing at the doorstep. She had just brought inside some groceries she had bought from the downstairs grocery store for $2.55. Mary Agnes, who was typically reserved, quickly warmed up to the woman as Catherine described their family's hardship to her. The woman appeared friendly and eager to assist while listening intently. She said her aging husband had passed away, leaving her with a sizable fortune. A child like Mary Agnes was something else she mentioned wanting. She then requested that Mary Agnes be temporarily taken to California with her while assuring Catherine that the young girl would be as chubby as a butterball. Catherine struggled to overcome her unease. She politely turned down the woman's sudden offer, and the woman seemed to have accepted the mother's decision. The woman soon left and assured Catherine she would be back the following day. Catherine asked for her name, and the woman reluctantly identified herself as Julia Otis. Julia gave Catherine $2 and 2 books before she left as a sign of support. The next day on May 14, 1930, even though it was raining, Julia Otis went back to the Moroney's house. She brought fresh baby clothes this time for Catherine, who was at the time expecting her third child. Later it was found that Julia had bought these clothes from a department store with a brand new $50 bill. She offered to drive Mary Agnes to a close-by shop so she could buy new clothes and shoes and claimed to have found her father a better job. Catherine reluctantly agreed to let Mary Agnes go with her because she was appreciative of the woman's generosity and thought of her as a blessing. Julia Otis took little Mary away and left in spite of her sobs and tantrums. The two, however, disappeared without a trace. Catherine and Michael turned to the police for assistance as they searched desperately for their beloved daughter. They searched for traces, but none were discovered. On the same evening, an elderly man in shabby clothing who claimed to be a welfare worker showed up at the Moroney home. Catherine reported him to the police because she was uncomfortable with his presence. The men tried to stop her from making the call through to the police, but failed, and eventually ran away. He was never identified or found. Julia Otis was described by Catherine as a pleasant and attractive woman, around the age of 22, standing at around 5 feet 2 inches tall, and weighing 125 pounds. She spoke with a refined voice and had visible front teeth. Julia was dressed in a gray suit, a gray lace hat, a pearl necklace, and a jeweled wristwatch when they last saw each other. At around 8 p.m. the following day, on May 16th, a letter from Julia Otis arrived at the Moroney residence. The letter was written on letterhead, and the postmark on it showed that it was delivered at 4:30 p.m. It came with a $5 bill and was delivered via special delivery. The letter read, "Please don't be alarmed. I have taken your little girl to California with me. I have hired a special nurse to care for her. We'll be back in 2 months. By that time, you will be on your feet again and will be able to care for her." She didn't even cry a bit. She is outfitted like a princess. In the meantime, I'll help all I can to get you on your feet. Don't worry about anything else. When you get this letter, we'll be on our way already. As ever, Julia Otis. The authorities examined the letter and found that there were deliberate attempts to make the writing appear illiterate. Could the letter's author have been hiding their true educational background on purpose? As word of the letter spread, witnesses soon came forward with stories of a woman who resembled Julia's description. A young girl who resembled Mary Agnes and the woman were spotted together at a store. A witness saw the woman dictating a letter to a store employee. The Moroneys got a second letter from someone named Alice Henderson 2 weeks later. She claimed to be Julia Otis's cousin. Alice stated in her letter that Julia had lost both her husband and her child the year before, and so she had been craving love since her tragic loss. Alice expressed her wish for Julia to change her mind and give Mary Agnes back. She then ceased all correspondence with the family. Authorities eventually found that both letters had identical handwriting. 4 days after Mary Agnes was kidnapped, on May 19th, Catherine Moroney took matters into her own hands and asked a judge for a warrant, accusing Julia Otis of abducting her first fruit. Both the public and law enforcement were puzzled by this mysterious woman's abduction of Mary Agnes Moroney. In an effort to find any indication of the two boarding a train, the police searched all of Chicago's railroad stations. However, it appeared as though the two had disappeared with no single trace. A girl fitting Mary Agnes' description was spotted in Rockford, Illinois, on July 23, 1931. A 3-year-old white girl who resembled Mary Agnes in terms of tan skin, blonde hair, and blue eyes was seen in a cart being pushed by an elderly Native American woman named Martha Thompson. When the Moroneys were notified and showed up to identify the girl, Martha claimed that the girl had been abandoned by her mother, whose name was Florence Fuller, and that she was on her way to join a circus with the child. The young girl, according to Catherine, was not Mary Agnes. Catherine gave the girl a thorough examination. She made sure she wasn't her daughter by inspecting her teeth and body. Both parents were inconsolable when it dawned on them that the girl wasn't Mary Agnes. One thing that set Mary Agnes apart from the girl from Rockford was the red mark on her arm. The case of Mary Agnes's disappearance eventually became cold because the investigation yielded no meaningful leads. In the coming years, the Moroney family welcomed another child whom they named Catherine into the world. They then had the good fortune to welcome 5 more boys named Michael Jr., Patrick, George, Harold, and William. When other kids went missing, the media frequently ran stories about Mary Agnes, keeping her name in the public eye. When Chicago Daily News reporter Eden Wright came across a picture of the Moroney family, he noticed something important. All of the family members looked alike, which gave him the idea for a story. In an effort to get someone to recognize Mary Agnes, the Chicago Daily News worked with the California newspaper to publish photos of the Moroney family. Soon enough, a Californian man by the name of Everett McClellan came forward in 1952. The men claimed that Anastasia, one of Mary Agnes' sisters, looked so much like his wife that it might have been her picture. The woman, Mary McClellan, was 24 years old and had been adopted in 1930 by Charles and Nora Beck. The teeth, blood type, skull type, fingerprints, and handprints of Mary McClellan appeared to be identical to those of Mary Agnes. However, Mary McClellan lacked two things Mary Agnes had. Mary Agnes was born a year later than McClellan, and McClellan did not have Mary Agnes' distinctive hernia scar from a surgical procedure. The newspaper arranged a meeting between Mary McClellan and Catherine on September 4, 1952, but much to everyone's dismay, Catherine Moroney insisted that Mary McClellan was not her lost daughter. Regardless, the women developed a close bond over time. Ultimately, a DNA test carried out in 2008 after Mary McClellan's demise established that she was not Mary Agnes. Mary Agnes' parents, Catherine and Michael, were profoundly affected by the tragic disappearance of their daughter. Michael passed away in 1957 at the age of 58, leaving behind an extraordinary amount of pain brought on by the loss of his dearly loved daughter. Depression plagued Catherine for years as she was consumed by the pain of her daughter's disappearance. She was only 49 years old when she died in 1962, after she had endured her loss all the way to the end. For close to a century, Mary Agnes' case remained a mystery. When Cook County Sheriff's Detective, Jose Rodriguez, started looking into Mary Agnes' disappearance in 2022 and contacted Terry Arnold, the daughter of a woman he thought was the long-lost Mary Agnes Moroney, the case took a great turn. Detective Rodriguez thought Mary Agnes might actually be Terry's mother based on DNA evidence. When the detective first explained his hypothesis, that Jeanette Burchard might actually be Mary Agnes Moroney, to Terry Arnold, Terry was doubtful and didn't buy it. She emphasized the absence of Mary Agnes' birthmark and other distinguishing features in her mother. But Terry agreed to take a commercial DNA test in order to disprove the theory and offer concrete proof. On October 28, 2022, the test results were received, and they produced a startling finding. Her genetic makeup, in contrast to Terry's Polish heritage, predominantly revealed Irish ancestry, which was a notable similarity with the Moroney family. The DNA test also established Terry Arnold's relationship to the Moroney family's surviving members as first-line cousins. This coincidental relationship strengthened the notion that Terry's mother was Mary Agnes Moroney. Who was she, though? Her family had been informed that Jeanette Burchard was born on April 14, 1928. She was raised by Jeanette Soleric Darris Anderson and her stepfather, Frank Darris. Detective Rodriguez did not find any obvious abnormalities in Burchard's family during his investigation. However, Terry provided a crucial piece of information. Frank Darris, Terry's step-grandfather, once told Jeanette Burchard that the woman who raised her wasn't her biological mother. Terry also claimed that her mother attempted to find out more about her true ancestry by contacting her Chicago-based cousins, but they claimed to be unaware of the situation. However, it was later discovered that before getting married to Frank Darris, the woman who raised Jeanette had a brief relationship with a man by the name of John Fahey. Fahey and the woman, along with Jeanette Burchard, were listed as residing in the same Chicago home in the 1930 census. After getting married to Darris, the family moved to Virginia in the early 1930s. Later, during World War II, they moved to Florida. Jeanette Burchard wed Edward Jennings in the 1940s, and the two of them had two children named Barbara Joan Jennings and Edward Clifton Jennings, Jr. After starting her career as a nurse, Jeanette gave birth to Terry Arnold, her third child, in 1957. A few decades later, she wed Earl Burchard a second time. The Miami Dolphins were Jeanette's favorite team, and she supported them from the time they were founded in 1966 throughout her entire life. Jeanette was a nurse, but she also had a great love for animals, especially dogs and cats. She also loved opera, with Madame Butterfly being a particular favorite. According to Terry, the last time her mother visited Chicago was probably between 1989 and 1995, possibly for a funeral. She later died in Florida in 2003, and her remains were buried alongside her pets. A year later, her son, Edward Clifton Jennings Jr. died. Her daughter, Barbara Joan Jennings, soon passed away in 2006 too. Terry Arnold is, however, the only surviving child of Jeanette Burchard, and she is certain that Mary Agnes Moroney is indeed her mother, whom she knows as Jeanette Burchard. In an interview, Terry admitted that she didn't know anything about the name Julia Otis or how her grandmother ended up raising her mother, Jeanette Burchard. Terry is still oblivious to the circumstances surrounding this mystery. However, she acknowledged that Mary Agnes' parents never received closure or knew the truth about what really happened to their daughter and expressed sympathy and sadness for them. Terry assured the Moroney family that Jeanette Burchard, or Mary Agnes as Terry knew her, was dearly loved despite the unanswered questions. Mary Agnes Moroney was the subject of a decades-long, relentless search in 1930. The horrific chapter that has plagued the Moroney family's generations for almost a century has finally come to an end as of this year 2023. But there was still one unanswered question: who was Julia Otis, and what motivated her to kidnap young Mary Agnes from her loving family? We will never be able to know some of these responses. Thank you friends for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon for more mystery cases. Until next time, stay safe and at alert for the next mystery to be unraveled.